Welcome to Onlife Health's informational webinar series. I'm your host, Michael Detner. In today's webinar, we welcome Barbara Johnson. Barbara has worked as a dedicated health coach here at Onlife Health for about 10 months. Prior to coming to Onlife, she spent 7 years as the Wellness and Personal Training Coordinator at the Brentwood Family YMCA. Barbara has a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Wisconsin. She is also certified as a personal trainer through National Strength and Conditioning Association and the American Fitness and Aerobics Association. Over the years, Barbara has helped many people find their motivation to make dramatic improvements to their health through exercise. Today she'll be talking about the importance of finding your true motivation to get up, get moving, and be healthier. And now please welcome Barbara Johnson.
Thanks, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here today and to be able to share some of my experiences with you. Well, first let's talk about how we all have a dream in some way. We'd like to be taller, thinner, healthier, and how do we make those dreams come true? Well, we can't change whether you're taller or shorter unless you buy, shoes with a lift, but we can work on that dream of being healthier. So how do you turn that dream into reality? Well, first, it takes some dedication. That's the desire to want to make the change, to start seeing your dream come true. Then there's the responsibility. That's the discipline that it's going to take, the getting up early or staying later, whatever is needed to help make that dream part of reality. There's education, of course, finding out more about what it is that you're going to do, maybe getting some help with that. Attitude. Having a positive attitude is what will really make the difference in helping your efforts to reach that goal. And then, of course, there's motivation, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So all our lives we've heard people say things like, I need to get motivated, or let's get motivated, or I can't seem to get motivated. We've heard cheerleaders hollering at teams, action, action. Well, let's talk about the definition of what motivation is. The American College of Sports Medicine says that motivation is a state of need or desire that influences a person to do something that will satisfy that need or desire. Well, for our purposes today, we're going to talk about exercise. So that would be something that you would do that would satisfy your need or desire to become a regular exerciser. There's two basic types of motivation: extrinsic, which is the external kind, and intrinsic, which is the internal kind of motivation. Let's talk about the extrinsic or external motivation first. Of course, it comes from outside you as a person. Often it's something that you're told to do, or you might be required to do it. It may involve reward. That reward could be a trophy or pay for your achievement in the task or goal. It can lead to feelings of guilt, frustration, and anger, and sometimes it can even lead to injury. Then there's intrinsic or internal motivation. That comes from inside you as the person. The reason people do it is because it will bring enjoyment or other personal benefits that they see. Oftentimes they do it because they receive gratification from accomplishing the task or the goal. It's inner-directed. You do it because you want to. A good example would be of people that run marathons. They do that and they train because I've achieved the goal of finishing the marathon. And it definitely is inner motivated. Well, I've got a lot of years of experience as a personal trainer, working with people, and I have a really good example of someone who started out with that external motivation and it became internal for her. I want to tell you about Heather and Steve. Young couple, recently had been married when I met them. They had been on a ski trip before they got married, and they decided that they would like to go on another trip. Their first trip had not gone so well. They spent more time moaning and taking ibuprofen for the sore muscles that they had because they hadn't done any preparation for the skiing. Well, Steve had the idea that this time this trip was going to be a success, and what they should do is get some personal training and start getting ready for their big ski trip. Well, Heather really wasn't interested in exercising, and she told me that right up front. She was doing it because Steve, her new husband, said this is what we should do. So we started out with the basics, which is the best place to start because we don't want anybody to get so sore again from starting exercise that you will stop. So we started out with simpler things, and we worked up to more intermediate and complicated things so that as they got closer to their ski trip, they were doing wall sits, walking lunges, plyometric side-to-side jumps, things that they were going to be needing to ski. Well, they went on their trip, came back, and it was a huge success. They enjoyed the entire time they were there. They weren't sore at all. And Heather had discovered something else that had benefited her. She was able to get back into blue jeans that she had worn in college that she hadn't been able to wear. She liked that. So they became my regular clients for the next 4 years, twice a week. Sometimes Steve had to be in meetings and Heather would come on her own. She had started out with the external motivation of coming because it was what Steve wanted her to do. She had reaped the benefits of exercise and had turned that motivation into an internal motivation. And they were fun to work with and watch them grow and change. Let's talk about the phases of motivation. There's 3 phases. The first one is contemplation. It's a thought process where you're thinking about doing something. It could be emotional, intellectual, or some of both. In this case, we'll use exercise as an example. You're thinking about starting to get in shape. Maybe your doctor has told you that you've got to have high blood pressure here. It's looking iffy. You need to start doing something to improve the situation. The next phase is preparation. That's a mental pathway for potential action. So you've made the decision, you got to start getting in shape. Well, how are you going to do that? Maybe you need to find a gym to go to. Or maybe you don't want to join a gym, but you're figuring, I might need some new shoes for this. So you're preparing to start the action. Then there's the last phase. That's the action. That's where you're actually going to do the desired behavior. Well, I've got another story for you. And this one is about Miss Elsie. When I met Miss Elsie, she was 88 years old. She'd outlived 3 husbands and was living alone in the small town where she was from. Well, her daughter and son-in-law lived here, and they came and worked out and took classes from me at the gym where I worked. Well, they brought Miss Elsie back here to live with them, and of course they're not going to miss an exercise class because they are avid exercisers, so they brought her along. Well, she didn't know what all of this was about, and she just was not really sure she wanted to get involved. So she sat on a chair on the side of the class. She was contemplating, thinking about what in the world was going on here. And she did that for a couple of weeks. Then she came and started asking me some questions. She was preparing herself in the preparation stage to figure out what would be required. Did she need different shoes? Could she sit down if she got tired? What type of weights should she use? Then she finally decided to take part of the class. And she became a regular exerciser. She sat in the front row, and she did almost everything that we did. When she was 92 years old, she had a small stroke. And once she was released from the hospital, she went to a rehab facility, which is quite typical once you've had a stroke. And when the physical therapists and occupational therapists came in to work with her, they were amazed because her coordination was good, her mobility was good, she could already lift 5 pounds, she hadn't lost all of that. So they released her within a week of being at the rehab center because of all the work that she had been doing prior. She didn't need to be there. Well, Miss Elsie continued to come to class 3 days a week, enjoy all the social activities that we had there, went on trips until she was 96. when she finally had a massive stroke, and this time she didn't bounce back. But she was sharp as a tack the entire time. She had great funny stories to tell. She loved to watch baseball, so she was always telling you about the game she'd just seen, and she was a real joy to be around. Next, let's talk about some barriers to exercise. As a personal trainer and as a coach here at Onlife now, I hear a lot of times from people all the reasons why they can't exercise. Some of that, I think, comes from the fact that people may have never exercised. They really don't know what to expect, or it's been so long since they actually did exercise that it becomes like a brick wall to them and they just can't see around it. Well, let's talk about some of those common barriers. The first one is lack of time. Well, actually, you don't have to spend hours in a gym or watching DVDs, exercise DVDs, to get a good workout. The American College of Sports Medicine recommends that adults get 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise 5 days a week. That's 30 minutes. That's the length of one sitcom. They also suggest that adults do 2 days of strength training with a day of rest in between to allow your muscles to recover, and several days of stretching. The thing that's really neat is they've done research, and you can even split that time, that 30 minutes, up into smaller increments. As long as you're getting 30 minutes for the day, you could do 2 15-minute sessions, or you could do 3 10-minute sessions. So you don't even have to do it all in 30 minutes. So lack of time, we've just busted that barrier. Lack of confidence. Now, maybe you had a bad experience as a child at gym class or in high school or even younger than that. Or somebody has always told you that girls don't do push-ups. If you start with the basics and you start where you are and start building and working up to, you'll be able to accomplish things. That's one of the things that we here at Onlife Health are here to do, is to help you build up that confidence. You can also hire people to help you with that. It can be overcome. Lack of money, either to join a gym, or maybe you think you have to have that $250 pair of tennis shoes. You don't have to join a gym to exercise. You can watch DVDs and do things at your house. You can go walking at the mall. You can walk in your neighborhood. A lot of high schools will allow you to walk on their track. All you have to do is get permission. So you can get in shape and not have to join a gym. Of course, if you would like to join a gym, those options are there for you too. Lack of support. Well, we're all social beings, and support is important to us. You can find it with a spouse, maybe a coworker, a girlfriend, a guy friend, meet to play basketball, let's go for a walk. Our health coaches here at Onlife are trained. Many have masters in exercise physiology and nutrition. We're all certified to help people quit smoking. So we're here to be your support as well. I'm too old. Well, we've already talked about Miss Elsie, and we saw how old she was, and she was able to start at 88. That's probably what helped her to live to be 96. So you're never too old to start exercising. I'm too tired. Well, if you get home from work and you are too tired, why not try getting up a little earlier in the morning? As we talked about in the very first barrier, since you can split the time up into 15 minutes or 10-minute sessions, you could wake up 15 minutes early, get in a 10-minute session, do 10 minutes on a lunch break and 10 minutes after work, and you've got your 30 minutes in. Exercise has this fabulous phenomena about it. It will give you energy. If you can get through that warm-up, those first few minutes, the adrenaline will be flowing, and you're good to go. I often tell my kids if they've got a study session that they need to do some jumping jacks, do some squats, and you're good to go for your study session. How about fear of pain and injury? Again, I know this is a real concern for a lot of people, especially if you've been injured in the past. Start at the beginning again. Go with the basics. Build your strength, improve on that form, and you will not have injuries. You might be sore, but being sore from exercise is a different kind of sore. It's not a painful sore. It's more of a, I've done something sore. Then the next one is a change in routine. Well, life is about change, and we all grow as people and change over time. Just look at a baby. We were all babies once, but we changed. Starting an exercise program is a step in the right direction to help you maintain your quality of life so that as you do get older, you'll be able to stay independent and do more things. It will also help you to keep your blood pressure down in the normal range, your cholesterol levels down in the normal range, helps you to sleep better. Exercise helps you to have more energy, as we talked about earlier, and it definitely will improve your quality of life. Well, next I'd like to talk to you about 6 tips that I have to help you stay motivated and to become a regular exerciser. The first tip is to set realistic goals. We call them SMART goals. That means that they are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Let's use an example here of you want to start a walking program. So to be specific, you would say, I want to start a walking program after work, and I'd like to walk around the block. We'd like to make it measurable. So you would say, I'm going to start walking around the block 2 times. By the end of the month, I would like to be able to walk around 4 times. There's your measurable and achievable, because if you can walk around the block twice, if you're consistent and you do your walk 3, maybe 4 times a week, by the end of the month, you'll be able to get around 4 times. That makes it realistic, and within a month's time, which is timely, you will have walked around the block 4 times. Then you can reset your goal to add on if you'd like. The next tip, and this one's very important. Well, they're all important, but this one is very, very important. It's tip number 2, and it's called track your progress. Sometimes change is slow, especially when you're exercising and your body's making small changes. Of course, we all want something to happen quickly. By tracking your progress, you'll see the changes that you've made. You can use a good old-fashioned clipboard and paper or a notebook. Some people like to wear a pedometer so at the end of the day they can see how many steps they've taken. There's also some really great apps that you can wear and have on your telephone, or you can use some of the neat bracelets and things that are out there now. There's the Fitbit, there's Jawbones, different things like that. We here at Onlife Health offer trackers too. They're on our portal, and you can track everything from your activity level, your blood pressure, the food you eat during the day, your weight, even your stress level. When you can see where you started, and then halfway through you see where you've been and now where you are, that's a great way to keep yourself motivated because you know that you've made progress and you're moving forward. The next tip is you're striving for progress, not perfection. One of the greatest football coaches of all times, Vince Lombardi, said, "Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we catch excellence." So, while you're starting out in that program and you've made your walk around the block a couple of times, eventually you get 4 times around. Pretty soon you're doing 6 times around. All of a sudden you're calling up your friends and you're saying, let's go for a walk and we're going to hit this trail and walk a couple of miles. You may not be perfect, but you are definitely chasing excellence. And while you're doing that, you've lost a few pounds. Your blood pressure has dropped. Your cholesterol is at a better level. Working on excellence. The next tip is to be yourself. Everyone is different. When each one of us is born, we have our own set of genes, completely different even from your brothers and sisters. So the best thing to do is don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself, to the person that you were yesterday. So when you set a goal and want to reach that goal, look at where you were. I had a gal that I worked with, and I said, let's do push-ups. Oh, Lord, she'd never done push-ups. She couldn't do push-ups. I said, let's start at the beginning. So within a year's time, we went from doing wall push-ups, push-ups at an angle, push-ups on all fours, a forward push-up, which some people call a girl's push-up, to a full-body push-up. She could do 12 full-body push-ups. And this is the same gal that told me, oh, she couldn't do a push-up. We started at the very beginning, and we took those small baby steps, and within a year, she was doing those push-ups. And she didn't compare herself to anybody but herself. The next tip is to make plans. Planning ahead will help you to be more successful. The first thing I like to tell everybody to do is schedule your workouts. If you still keep a calendar like you see here, write it down. Look at your week before it's all going and see where you've got open times and put that workout in there. If you use Outlook or some other form on your computer, schedule your workouts there. You can put it on your phone to beep or remind. Pack a bag the night before so you don't have to worry about it in the morning, or, oh, you're running late and you completely forget it. If you're going to swim, you want your goggles, your swim cap, your swimsuit and towels. If you're going to go to the gym and do something, you want your gym clothes, your shoes, socks, all those kind of things. And if it's sitting by the door, or you even put it in the car the night before, you just have to go or grab it as you go out the door. If you're too tired when you get home in the evenings, set your alarm clock. We talked about this a little bit earlier. If you get up just a little bit earlier, you can get some workout in. At the Y where I used to work, there was an entire group of people that would be waiting for the Y to open at 4:45 in the morning. And it was full. There were people lifting weights, running, taking classes in the pool, and they were done. They got ready for work. They went to work from the Y, and then they went home afterwards. They had finished their workout for the day. The next thing I'd like to tell you is to try to do things that are convenient. The biggest one is, if you are going to join a gym, try to find one that's close to your home or your work. That way it's easier for you to go and do the activity. I know there's always going to be that hot gym in town, but if it's out of your way, after a month or two, you'll stop going because it's not close to work or close to home. The next thing is to get support. We are social people. Way back, our ancestors figured out that it was easier to fight off that saber-toothed tiger if there was a group of them. So there's lots of things you can do to get some support. You can ask your spouse, your significant other, if they would walk with you or, run with you, whatever it is that you're choosing to do. You can hire a personal trainer to at least help you get some of the beginnings down for 4 or 5 sessions maybe. Get a friend in the neighborhood. Let's go for a walk. Co-workers. Get them going on a lunchtime or a break and get in one of those 15-minute sessions so that you've got 15 minutes out of the way. Your kids, you'd be surprised. They would love to exercise with mom or dad. You can go to the mall and walk there, and you'll find that there are a lot of people walking in the mall. There's even groups that are organized that are mall walking groups. Group exercise classes are wonderful. First off, the instructor has got the workout planned. You just need to show up with your tennis shoes on and the right attire. You're going to find people that are coming there. Lots of times there's friends that get together and they come to the same class. You give each other support. And I had people that when somebody was missing, they would go home and they'd call and find out where they were because they were part of that group. One of the things that we here at Onlife Health offer is our health coaches. We're here to help you, give suggestions, to support you, give advice, guidance, assistance, and if you just need it, somebody to listen to. To wrap it up, I would like to tell you that this is a passion of mine, and I do enjoy working with people, as do all the other coaches that are here. Change is inevitable, and there's a whole new train of thought now that says that exercise is medicine. And if you will look at a lot of the prescriptions for chronic diseases as well as acute diseases, exercise is always in there somewhere, even if it's part of the recovery phase. It will help you to have a better quality of life, and you'll feel better too. Final thought is, don't worry about failing. Some of the greatest inventors failed before they actually invented their great invention. I look at failure as actually an opportunity, something that I can learn from and build on and move on. So failure lies not in falling down, but failure lies in not getting up. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I have a few questions for you here.
Certainly.
Or questions and perhaps a few comments, I guess. First of all, going back to the different types of motivation, you said there's extrinsic or external motivation and intrinsic motivation. Would you say it's safe to say that the internal intrinsic motivation is probably the more powerful of the two?
Oh, absolutely. If you're motivated from the inside, it's something that's really important to you, and you'll pretty much figure out how to get it in.
Yep, and I think it tends to last longer. If I feel good about something, if the feeling inside me feels good, I think it's pretty safe to say that that's going to last longer than me getting some sort of a trophy or something along those lines, as far as keeping me motivated and continuing to exercise.
Absolutely. And I think, too, as you start to see the difference in yourself, when you have to start buying pants that are a little bit smaller, or even when your friends say, wow, you look great, even if they don't say you've lost weight, but you look good because you're glowing, because you're healthier, you know, that makes you feel good about your self-esteem, about the inner person, too.
Right. And also, we can't underestimate the importance, and I correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is an intrinsic issue. It's the endorphins, the brain chemicals that come about as a result of exercising. You feel better, your mood improves, you just feel better about yourself and your situation.
Oh, absolutely.
It's intrinsic.
And they've done studies where people took antidepressants, and then another group of people were taking antidepressants and then did exercise in addition. And the people that exercised and took antidepressants were happier. They were doing better than the people who just took the antidepressants. So there's still a need for your body to have those natural endorphins going too.
Right, exactly. I used to remind patients of mine that going on an antidepressant is not a bad thing, but it should always be something that has an endpoint. And if in this case exercise really helped a person to feel better and to come out of their depression, I feel better that when they finally come off the medication, they're going to stay feeling better. They're not going to need the medication anymore because the exercise is really, really helping them feel better about themselves and their situation.
Right, and they have a new behavior that's positive.
Right, exactly. Another question that I don't think you would expect this question. How did you, Barbara, come to make your living as an exercise specialist?
Wow. Well, when I started way back when, it was more of a part-time gig. And I just love to exercise. And I've always been a people person, and I found that I was good at teaching and explaining things to people, and people would come to me and ask me questions. So I started doing a lot of little part-time things with different organizations, and then decided I would make it my full-time job. And after a couple of years of doing it on my own, I was able to land the job at the YMCA.
So it really just began with your own love of
Yes.
exercising. So you're really living your dream.
Absolutely.
Because your life is exercise. And you're obviously very passionate about it. If you could, once again, I know that I'm someone who was never a huge fan of exercise I'm much better about it today. But one thing that really helped me to become much more open to trying exercise, and which I'm doing pretty regularly now, is the guidelines that you mentioned earlier. I thought that in order to be an exerciser, as you said, I would need to completely change my life and spend hours at the gym and do things that I just didn't really particularly want to do. But remind us again how much simpler it is than what I was thinking there.
Oh, absolutely. The walking or moderate intense exercise, ACSM recommends 30 minutes 5 days a week. And the research that's been done shows that you can split that up. 3 10-minute sessions or 2 15-minute sessions. And weightlifting, you can get a really good strength training workout in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, a couple of days a week. People that spend a lot of time at the gym, they just like hanging out at the gym. They're doing an awful lot of talking in between sets, and you don't have to do that. And you know, there are some really good DVDs out there where you can have weights at your house and get good exercise there, or just body weight activity and build up strength that way.
What about the, I think they're called resistance bands. They're the long rubber straps, rubber bands that you can buy. I think I saw them at Target recently. You can buy them. They're incredibly inexpensive.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to spend a lot of money on weights.
Right.
What is your opinion of resistance bands?
They're wonderful. It's a different type of a workout than a weight, but it's something that you can pitch into your suitcase if you have to travel, right, and you've got it, and it won't set off the alarms at the airport. And they come in different resistance strengths, so you can start out with one that's not quite as hard. And they usually come in 3 or 4 together, so you can adjust your resistance. You can do an entire hour's workout with resistance tubing and hit all the major muscles in your body.
I might have to try that. One other thing that you mentioned, a project of mine is sleep science and sleep health. And exercise has been shown, if you have trouble sleeping, exercise has been shown to really just make a huge difference, actually, in the quality of sleep. It lessens the time it takes you to fall asleep oftentimes. One thing that I would add to that is, at least from the sleep guidelines, exercise is important, but it's important not to do it too close to bedtime, because at that point your body is still a little bit wound up and it might actually make sleeping harder. But just getting 30 minutes throughout the day can make a huge difference in the way you sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've always told people too, you're pumped up. You've got the adrenaline running in your system, endorphins, all of that, and then you're going to try to go to sleep. I would suggest probably not exercising past 7 o'clock at night.
Right. I agree.
It's just, you got too much going on, unless you're one of those people that's got, now if you've got a late night thing that you have to do, or a study session or something, there you go.
Yeah. Get that adrenaline flowing, and maybe that'll get you through. But and one last point that I thought was pretty interesting. Many times people, if they're in a new town or if they're looking for sort of a change of pace socially, it can be kind of hard to meet people. And there are, like you said, there are people who get together and walk at malls and high school tracks and so forth. It can provide a really good opportunity to expand your social circle.
Absolutely.
I know back where I'm from in Indianapolis, there's a running club, and I think I can think offhand of 3 couples who have been married now for years and years, and they all met in this running club. And I'm not saying you necessarily need to go, fishing for a spouse in a running club, but the fact is they all became very, very good friends, and they still run together several times a week, and it provides a lot of support. I'm realizing we're just about out of time, and I want to thank you, Barbara, again, for your knowledge and your enthusiasm. And on behalf of Onlife Health, I want to thank you, the listener, for taking the time to take advantage of this series, and we hope it has been informative and helpful. Please join us for future webinars on a variety of health-related topics. Those will be coming up very soon. Thank you again. I'm Michael Detner, and have a great day.